It started with a simple Craigslist ad, discreet cleaning service needed for a private estate, high pay, must sign NDA. I should have trusted my gut when the man on the phone said, "Once you're in, there's no turning back." When I arrived at the estate, my car seemed laughably out of place among the pristine black SUVs lining the driveway. A suited man greeted me at the gate, his expression cold, and handed me a badge with a single word. "Staff, follow me," he said, turning briskly. The house was stunning, like something out of a magazine, but I wasn't there for the main house. He led me around the back to a nondescript door at the base of the estate. The man scanned a key card, and the door opened with a hiss, revealing a narrow staircase descending into the earth. "This is what you'll be cleaning. Stay in the marked areas, and don't touch anything outside your assigned zone. Do not wander." He didn't wait for my response, turning and leaving me alone with nothing but a bucket, a flashlight, and an uneasy feeling settling deep in my gut. The tunnels were unlike anything I expected. They weren't dank or crumbling. In fact, they were pristine, smooth concrete walls, perfectly aligned, lights, and the faint hum of an air circulation system made it feel like an underground bunker. I began scrubbing the floors, focusing on the scuff marks and stains left behind. At first, it seemed like an ordinary cleaning job, but the deeper I went, the more unsettling it became. The tunnel wasn't empty. Cameras lined the ceiling at regular intervals, their red lights blinking ominously. Doors, heavy and steel-reinforced, dotted the walls. Some had no handles, while others were slightly ajar, revealing rooms filled with storage crates, marked with cryptic labels. "Event supplies. Confidential. Do not open." The air felt heavier as I moved further in, like the walls themselves were closing in. In one of the rooms, I found a strange stain on the floor, dark, sticky, and unmistakably blood-like. My heart raced as I tried to scrub it away, but it wouldn't budge. That's when I noticed the smell. It wasn't bleach or industrial cleaner. It was metallic, sharp, and nauseating. I turned to leave, but the door suddenly slammed shut behind me. My flashlight flickered, and for a moment, I was plunged into darkness. When the light stabilized, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Scratch marks etched into the steel door. They weren't random. They formed words. "Help me." I stumbled back, my breath hitching, and scrambled to open the door. It took all my strength, but eventually it gave way. As I stepped back into the hallway, I heard faint footsteps echoing from deeper within the tunnels. They were deliberate and heavy, like boots on concrete. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling. No response. I turned off my flashlight, hoping to remain unseen, and pressed myself against the wall. The footsteps grew louder, then stopped altogether. For a moment, the silence was deafening. Then a voice whispered, just behind me, so close I could feel the breath on my neck. "You shouldn't be here." I spun around, but no one was there. My instincts screamed at me to leave, but curiosity got the better of me. I followed the sound of the footsteps deeper into the maze of tunnels. The air grew colder, and the lights overhead flickered more frequently. Eventually, I came across another room, the door slightly ajar. Peeking inside, I saw a massive table covered in documents, blueprints, and photographs. My hands trembled as I flipped through them. They weren't just photos of the estate. They were surveillance images, celebrities' staff, and even random delivery drivers, all captured in candid, unsuspecting moments. Among the files, I found something even more disturbing. A list of names. Some were crossed out, others circled. My own name was at the bottom, circled in bold red ink. Before I could process what I was seeing, I heard the footsteps again, closer this time. I shoved the papers back into place and ducked behind a stack of crates. 2 men entered the room, their voices low and tense. "We need to seal this off," one said. "The last guy got too close. We can't risk it happening again." "What about the cleaner? the other asked. She's already seen too much. My heart pounded as I realized they were talking about me. I waited until their voices faded before slipping out of the room. I tried retracing my steps, but the tunnels all looked the same. Panic set in as I realized I was lost. Then I heard a low, mechanical hum, followed by the sound of something heavy sliding across the floor. A hidden door had opened nearby, and from it, a pale, cold light spilled into the corridor. Against my better judgment, I crept toward it. The room beyond was massive, with walls lined with strange machinery and monitors displaying live feeds of the tunnel. In the center was a chair, and strapped to it was a man. He looked disheveled, his eyes wild with terror. "Please," he croaked when he saw me. "Help me. They'll be back soon." Before I could move, alarms blared through the tunnels. Red lights flashed as the door slammed shut behind me. The man in the chair screamed, his voice drowned out by the deafening noise. I banged on the door, desperate to escape, but it wouldn't budge. The monitors flickered, and one by one the camera feed shuddered, shadows moving toward the room, and I turned back to the man, but he was gone. The chair was empty, the restraints dangling loosely. The alarms stopped, plunging the room into silence. Then, a voice crackled through the intercom. "You should have stayed in your assigned zone." I don't remember how I got out. My next memory is waking up in my car parked on the side of the road, miles away from the estate. I told myself it was a nightmare, that the scratches on my arms and the faint smell of bleach on my clothes said otherwise. To this day, I don't know what I delivered to those tunnels or what I stumbled into. All I know is that some doors are meant to stay closed and some jobs aren't worth the paycheck. And if you ever get a call to work at a private estate, ask yourself one question. What are they hiding? The questions haunt me every night. What did I walk into, and why was I allowed to leave? It doesn't make sense. People like me don't just escape situations like that without a reason. And while I was relieved to be out, that relief was short-lived. For weeks, I tried to put the experience behind me. I avoided driving near that area and ignored any unknown calls, but the nightmares started almost immediately. They weren't just dreams. They felt more like memories. I wasn't aware I had scenes replaying from the tunnels, but with details I couldn't recall being there for. I'd wake up, drenched in sweat, the sound of that intercom voice echoing in my ears. "You should have stayed in your assigned zone." One night I noticed something strange while scrolling through my phone. My camera roll had photos I didn't remember taking, blurry images of the tunnels, the strange machinery, even the man strapped to the chair. My hands trembled as I scrolled further. The last photo was the worst. It was a picture of me standing in the tunnel, taken from behind. I could see the faint glow of my flashlight, the curve of my shoulders, but I was alone when I was down there, weren't I? The next day I called a friend who worked in IT. "Can you check if my phone's been hacked?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He ran some diagnostics, but came back with nothing unusual. "Your phone's clean," he said. "Maybe you took those pictures and just don't remember." I didn't press the issue. How could I explain that I didn't even know where the estate was, much less why these photos would appear weeks later? Things escalated after that. Strange cars started parking on my street, their engines idling for hours. Calls from blocked numbers came at all hours of the night, silent but persistent. One evening as I took the trash out, I noticed a man in a dark suit standing at the corner of my block. He didn't move, didn't say a word. He just stood there, watching. I rushed back inside and locked every door and window. My paranoia was at an all-time high, but no matter how much I tried to convince myself I was imagining things, the feeling of being watched never left. The breaking point came a few nights later. I woke up to the sound of my door creaking open. My heart pounded as I grabbed the baseball bat I kept under my bed and crept into the hallway. The door was ajar, the chain lock dangling uselessly. A cold breeze swept through the room, carrying with it a faint smell I recognized all too well. Bleach. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice shaking. No answer. I checked every corner of my apartment, but no one was there. When I returned to the living room, I sought a small envelope sitting on the coffee table. My name was scrawled on the front in bold black letters. Inside was a single photo. It was an image of me taken through my bedroom window as I slept. On the back, a message was written in the same handwriting. "Stay quiet. This is your only warning." I moved out the next day, leaving most of my belongings behind. I couldn't shake the feeling that staying in that apartment in that city was like waiting for the inevitable. Even now, living across the country under a different name, I still feel their eyes on me. Every knock at the door, every shadow that moves in the corner of my vision sends a jolt of fear through me. I don't know who they are or why they let me leave that night, but I do know one thing. They'll never let me forget. If you're ever offered a job that feels too good to be true, think twice. There are things in this world that money can't buy. Back your peace, your sanity, and sometimes your life.